All right, got a good one here I wanted to share with you guys. This one is, we're going to do some diagnosing. So I have a 2007 Dodge Sprinter 2500 with a 3.5. The transmission is the 722.6. So it comes to me from a wholesale account. They actually drove the car here. They said, oh man, you can't go over 25 miles an hour with it. So I'm thinking it's probably fail-safe, not shifting, something like that. So I get into the car, drive it down the block. Before I even hook the scan tool up, I see the check engine lights on. Does not shift out of first. So I can tell you, without even hooking up a scan tool or anything like that, when you have one of these 722.6s that does not shift out of first, it's an electrical problem. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's something with a speed sensor. A lot of times you clear the code, the car will shift until it sees the problem again, and then it more than likely won't shift again. So, okay, doesn't shift out of first. I know something electrical is wrong with it. It's been absolutely nuts here, so I pull it up front. One of the lead technicians, I asked him to please do a code scan. He gets this scan and does a code scan, and then he reports to me. I got, it's so busy here, I got 60, 70, and an 8HP75. I got a 6L8 I got to take apart. I got a 4L30 here. I got 4 Hondas to come out. It's busy, and a couple of Chevy vans and a Toyota Land Cruiser. All right, sorry to get off track here. All right, so let's get back to the code that is stored in the transmission. Let me just find it. Okay, here it is. I got only one code, a P0778, pressure control solenoid B electrical. All right, now this transmission has 2 solenoids that are exactly the same that control the pressure. Okay, you have your shift pressure, which is what the code is for, and you have your modulating pressure control solenoid. Okay, so the function of these 2 solenoids, the modulating pressure control solenoid is the line pressure control solenoid. All right, and the shift pressure control solenoid is responsible for delivering the proper amount of pressure to the clutch packs. So that's what they both, that's what the function of them, line pressure and maintaining pressure and delivering, regulating the pressure to the clutch pack. So, all right, so we got the code for the one, and that's the only code in there. We cleared it. Basically, you put it in drive, slams in. I confirmed it doesn't shift out of first. So, the code basically comes right back. All right, so I'm going to kind of take you through, and I'm going to give you a shot of the code too, because it won't clear. I still have the sprinters here, and I kind of know what's going on with it because we had to check it. It comes from a very good wholesale account, and this is a Sprinter work van, for his client. So we want to get this thing going and explain to you what's going on. So, and I'm going to show you what's going on. So the next thing we need to do, actually, I'm going to give you a shot of the scan tool. And then the next thing we need to do is I want to look at a wiring diagram with you. Maybe I'll put the one up on Shopkey, so it's not too small. So I'm hoping you guys can see. And then we're also going to check it with a voltmeter. And now I have, basically the problem is it's got a bad computer. So I have a guy on his way. I do a lot of work for a gentleman in Brooklyn that specializes in Sprinters. He has accounts where, the people have a fleet of Sprinters, maybe 10 of them. And this is, these cars can't be down. So I build the transmissions, and he keeps them on his shelf. So when it comes down, when the van goes down, it's just a matter of swapping it out and getting it back on the road within a couple of hours. So I spoke to him about this, and I needed a test computer just to verify my findings. And he's also bringing me 2 or 3 transmissions because they've been using them. I guess the trucks, maybe with the heat or whatever, have been going down. So he says, well, I got a couple of transmissions I'm bringing you that we're going to need done. So he's on his way here now. I should be here probably in about 15 minutes. So let me give you a shot of the scan tool, and then if we got time today, we're going to also look at a wiring diagram. All right, so at this point, I will meet you out by the truck. I'm going to have the scan tool, and I'm going to give you a shot of the one code. It has the P0778. All right, here is the code, shot of the scan tool, P0778. Shift pressure solenoid circuit. Okay, now we're going to go look at a wiring diagram. All right, so to take a look at a wiring diagram, we have fuse number 5, which is a 10 amp fuse that comes down, you turn the key on, it's going to power up this computer. All right, there's 2 connectors. There's only 2 wires here, which powers up the computer with system voltage, 12 volts, and a ground. Okay, and here is what we want to concentrate on. So we have solenoid supply voltage, pin number 38 on the TCM, which is a white wire. Okay, so with the key on and engine off, on the solenoid supply voltage, you should have system voltage, 12 volts. Okay, whatever the voltage is on this pin 29, the voltage should be exactly the same on this pin 38. Okay, going out, and solenoid supply voltage to power up the solenoids. Okay, you also have to power up the speed sensor. So here's sensor supply voltage, pin number 13, a dark blue wire, which powers up the speed sensors. Now that should be 4 to 8 volts. And again, supply voltage, system voltage. All right, so here is your shift pressure control, the one we're getting the code for. And here is the modulating pressure control, which is like the line pressure control. So the first thing I did was I put my positive, I ohmed the solenoid first. So I put my positive lead to this pin 38 and put the negative lead to the shift pressure control, and I got about 5.5 volts, which is what it should be. Now, testing it at the computer, I had the computer unplugged at the time, everything is plugged back in now, but it ohmed good, so I'm checking the wire going all the way down, then I'm checking the conductor plate, and then I'm checking the solenoid. So these two, the modulating pressure and shift pressure control, are exactly the same. You can actually take those solenoids and swap them if you want, because they're both the same. Okay, and they ohmed out both the same. So I pretty much know, the code is not clearing. It comes back immediately. So you should see something here. So when I ohm the solenoid, I got 5.5. I says, well, that looks good. Then I ohm the one right next to it, which is the same, and that looks good. And then I just tried to clear the code again, see what happened. I cleared it, started up, code came right back. So I said, we got to be dealing with something with a bad computer. All right, so what I did was with my voltmeter, again, I verified 12 volts coming into this trans relay out. Okay, key on, engine off. I verified my voltage here, which would be 4 to 8 volt. I had 6 volts. And then when I had it on the solenoid supply voltage, I had 12 volts, and I'm just sitting there watching the meter, and all of a sudden the meter jumped down to 3 volts, 3.9 volts. So I says, I think we found our problem. So I'm shutting it off, I'm turning it on, shutting the meter off, turning it on, just trying all different things. And from then on, it stayed on 3.9 volts, and it still has 3.9 volts, which I want to show you, because I want to show you where the computer is located, and I got all my crap out there, all the test equipment out there. So we're going to go back out to the Sprinter now, and we're going to look at the voltmeter. I want to show you the 12 volts here at pin number 29. I want to show you the voltage at the sensor supply, which that's right on, and I'm going to show you the voltage here, the solenoid supply voltage, which should be system voltage also, which it is not. All right, so we're going to pick it up back out by the truck once again, so I'll be right back. Okay, this is also where the computer lives, underneath the driver's seat. All right, I just had to remove this little fuse board here to get my hand in there to pull the computer out. It actually bolts more towards the front. There's about 3 screws holding on. I took the bracket off, so just the computer is here. But I just want to show you where the computer is on these sprinters, under the driver's seat. So now let me get set up with the voltmeter. I'll probably put the camera back on the tripod, and we'll do these checks so I can show you what exactly is going on with this and how we determine the TCM is no good. All right, so I will be back shortly. All right, so I got the sprinter inside the shop because the weather's not looking too good outside. The first thing I want to do is start this up and let you kind of see the hard engagement on this with the problem that we're having. And then what I'm going to do, because I really can't keep the camera on the TCM and on the voltmeter at the same time. So after we feel the hard engagement, I'll focus on the TCM and I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then we'll go to the voltmeter, and then you can see the values of first I'm going to ohm the solenoid, we're having the problem for, the pressure solenoid, and I'm going to we'll compare that to the modulating solenoid, because they're both exactly the same. And then what I'll do is I'll turn the key on, and we'll take the volt reading, we'll take the DC volt reading from where the power comes in, and then we're going to go to the solenoids, which I believe was pin number 13, a blue wire, and we should have 4 to 8 volts there. And then we're going to go to wire number 38, which is the supply voltage for the solenoids, and we should have system voltage, or at least 12 volts there. All right, and then I have as a test, I have a replacement computer that a friend of mine brought me from Brooklyn, and we can swap it out, and then we can do the same thing and look at the values there again. And then we'll clear out the codes, because sometimes these things still may not work good if there's codes present, and then we'll see what type of engagement we got there. Should be a big difference. All right, so let me start this thing up here. And you'll see the hard engagement. All right, that was drive. Reverse, drive again. So that's what we're dealing with, extremely high pressure. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to focus on the TCM, and I'm showing you what we're going to do, and then over to the voltmeter. All right, let me just get set up for that. Okay, so this is the C1 connector, and this wire here comes off of the 10 amp fuse, so this powers everything up. All right, so we're going to be checking voltage, system voltage at this wire. Okay. This is pin number 38. This powers up the solenoids. This also should be system voltage with key on, engine off, so figure 12 volts. These 2 wires, this is the solenoid wire we're getting the code for, the pressure, and this is the modulating pressure, pin number 36, 37, and 38. And we're also going to check, I'm just going to turn this around. Okay, this blue wire, pin number 13, powers up the speed sensors, and they want 4 to 8 volts there. So the first thing that I'm going to do before we check the voltage is I'm going to ohm the solenoids out. So I'm going to put my positive lead to pin number 38, and then a negative lead to each one, and these both should ohm the same. Okay, roughly about 5.5 ohms. All right, then at that point, I'm going to hook up my voltmeter to ground, key on, engine off. I'm going to touch here. All right, C1 connector. Look for system voltage. Then I'm going to go to pin number 13 on the other side and look for between 4 and 8 volts. And then I'm going to go to pin number 38 and look for system voltage. All right, so I'll focus you guys on the voltmeter, and again, I'll talk as I'm going through it. And then we're going to swap out computers. I'm going to have to clear the codes, and then we're going to take the readings again and see how the engagements are again. All right, so let me get set up for that, and I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so first, again, I have my positive lead. I have the scale on ohms, and I have the positive lead to pin number 38. Now I'm going to go to 37. Okay, and that is checking the wire, conductor plate, and the solenoid. All right, now I'm going to go to pin 36 because both of these solenoids are exactly the same. And I have the same reading. Okay, 5, 6, back to pin 37. And that's perfect. So we know the wire is good, we know the conductor plate is good, and we know the solenoid is good. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to volts, and I'm going to hook up a different lead that I have to ground. And I'm going to put the key on. Oh, where's the key? Okay, I got the key on. All right, so now we're going to go into the C1 connector that comes off the fuse, and we're looking for battery voltage there at 12 volts. Okay, so that's good. Right where it should be. All right, now I'm going to check pin number 13, which are the speed sensors. 4 to 8 volts. We got 6 volts. All right, now I'm going to go to pin number 38, looking for system voltage. We got 2.99 volts when that should be 12 volts. So there is our problem. We got the voltage coming in, but not enough coming out. Okay, I'm hoping that's, from my angle, I'm having a tough time seeing. So I'm hoping that's coming out. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just shut the key off for a second. I'm just going to put you guys on hold, and I'm going to swap computers. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I have my test computer hooked up, and I'm going to start again. I have the negative meter to ground, and I'm going to start in the C1 connector with the looks like a blue wire, blue and black wire that comes off of the 10 amp fuse to power up the system, and I should have system voltage there. Okay, which I do. All right, now we're going to go to pin number 13 for the speed sensors. I'm looking again for 4 to 8 volts. Okay, we got 6.2 volts. And then we're going to go to pin number 38, where we only had 3 volts, and we're looking for system voltage on pin number 38, the white wire to power up the solenoids. And we have system voltage. So now we have the correct amount of voltage coming out of the computer and powering up the system. All right, so we got a 100% bad computer. What I want to do now is just clear out the code, and we're going to check how the engagement is into drive. All right, so let me just go grab my scanner, and I will be right back. All right, so what I did was I hooked up the scan tool. I cleared the codes because sometimes if there's still codes present, it still may not act correctly. So I want to make sure all codes were cleared out of the engine and the transmission. All right, so we're going to start this thing up. All right, I have no check engine light, and I'm going to put in drive. That's perfect. Perfect engagement. Reverse. Very nice. Start again, perfect. Nice, smooth engagement. All right, so what I'm actually doing now, because I know that it's the computer is the problem, and this is a guy's work van, I actually have to send the computer out to Miami to a place called Solo Electronics that I deal with and have the original computer repaired. So I spoke to my friend that lent me the computer because he needs them. You know, he says, make sure I get it back, you know, please not too long, because he constantly is you know, all he does is pretty much work on sprinters. He goes around to different shops where he lives in Brooklyn, like a mobile guy. And he needs the computer. So I'm going to leave this computer in here for now so the guy that owns this sprinter can work, because it may be a week, maybe longer before it gets there. Well, before the whole process is done and we get the computer back. You know, I'm thinking week and a half, and the truck's going to be laid up here. So that's what I'm going to do, and until we get his back, then I'll have him bring it in. A couple hours, I'll put everything back the way it was for now. I'm just going to kind of just put it back with there's 3 bolts there's 2 bolts onto the computer and the bracket, and there's 3 bolts that hold the bracket on in place underneath the driver's seat. And I have a few other things that way, but I'm going to put all that back together. It's not a big deal. So just to recap, we're dealing with code P0778, shift pressure control solenoid. And I'm really surprised that that was the only code showing up, because the pin 38 supplies, you need system voltage to power all the solenoids up. And for some reason, just that one code was coming up. And I've had that 778 code before on a Jeep with a NAG 1. Basically the same deal, and that computer was no good also. I don't remember how I came to the conclusion. I know I always own the solenoid out and stuff, but I think I may have done like the wire switch like I did on the Chrysler video with the 750 code, and the code stayed the same, so I knew we were dealing with a computer. I think I did something like that. I came to the determination the computer was bad, and it was, so we got another one. Actually, the wholesale account, I couldn't find one. The wholesale account that sent me the car got one. Plugged it in, I did a relearn, and basically just, you know, charged them a couple hours labor and some diagnostic time to put the computer back, put everything back. So 778, hard code, wouldn't clear. Shift pressure control, and again, that solenoid is basically for proper pressure to the clutch packs. And the modulating pressure control solenoid basically is your line pressure solenoid. Then you have your 3 shift solenoids, which are all the same, and the 1 lockup solenoid, which is all by itself. So I guess that's a fix. Anything else on this? That's about it. So I'm just going to get this thing set up. I'm going to call the wholesaler tomorrow, see if he wants to swing by, pick it up, and we're going to get this other computer sent out for repair. So I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you next one.